Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So what I'm going to talk about is, a synthesis of what I've learned so far in the last 20 years and how the future of AI is going to look like. So it's a imagination talk about the future more than what is going on now. And I'm going to talk about the next layer of AI. So we've already heard what we have been able to achieve in AI today, but I'm going to talk about what can we do next, right? We think in layers, so what is the next layer? And I call this ecosystem intelligence. So through a lot of examples, I'll try to share that concept of ecosystem intelligence and what can we do with it. All right. So the inspiration started when I attended a talk by Dr. Kalam. He was keynoting in WWW conference in 2011, and he said some very interesting things which I can still remember. So he said something like, "I'm confident that future interactions with the computer will be seamless, and we would interact with people, with machines the way we interact with each other, right?" This is something he said, in 2011. Siri was the first manifestation of this in 2015. And in the context of India, he said something like, the big hindrance is making, democracy of AI is the language. If you look at the country like India, a lot of AI has been penetrated only to the English-speaking urban audience, but what about the rest of India, right? So he's talking about how do we take AI to them, and there are two ways to do it. One is to teach everybody how to speak English, and the other way is to build AI in all languages, right? So how do we do it? So with that, I've been thinking, is it even possible at that time? And today it is possible. Why is it possible, and what can we do in terms of this, right? So I'm going to talk about, the idea that we are living in a very different time than 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And there are three things that are happening which I think if we understand the context, then we'll be able to think about this ecosystem intelligence. So the first thing that is happening is what I call the serendipitous convergence of technologies, which means, when internet was evolving, internet evolved at its time. Connectivity came, the wireless connectivity came to the whole country. Devices were evolving in their own way. AI was evolving in its own way. Cloud computing was evolving in its own way. And now IoT is evolving in its own way. So these are all bottom-up technology innovations that are happening. And the fact that they are all there now is amazing. And that's what we need to recognize, that what can you do when you have all of this? So in the 70s, we had AI, but we didn't have cloud or connectivity. And when we had devices, we didn't have IoT, right? So now all of it is there. And what can we do now is going to take a different level of imagination than what we have been thinking so far. So I want you to give that perspective that how do you think digital life in the context of where we are in terms of technology. And this convergence is very unique, and we can do wonderful things. AI itself has evolved quite a bit, and you must have heard all these talks, right? So instead of just being a data civilization, we have now become an intelligent civilization, right? And I'm not just talking about human civilization. Every company, every startup has become, from data to insights. Earlier, we would put systems together like automation that the lady talked about, with manual rules. Now we can learn the rules, right? We are not just able to hear, but we are also able to listen now, right? So with the speech technology. So AI is able to do this. We are not just able to take pictures and take videos, but we are also able to understand what's going on. We are not just able to read the web, we are able to understand the web. And there's a big difference in these two things. And we are not just able to encode the moves, we are also able to learn strategies, right? AlphaGo and all of that. Now, what does that do is quite amazing. And when you don't see it from a top-down perspective, that perspective doesn't come. So for example, AlphaGo is a great example of learning strategies. But if you think about it, education is also a strategy. Career development is also a strategy. Healthcare is also a strategy. So what we have done in AlphaGo can we do in healthcare and education. Can we think like that, right? And in all these places, we can do wonderful things. So given that AI is at this stage, I talk about, the stage is like a 4-year-old. So AI is like a 4-year-old. It can do all these 5 things 80% well. And now, imagine what can we do by combining all these together. So it's not that we are going to stop working on all these, but we are going to now start thinking the next layer by combining all the technologies and the AI capabilities together, right? Now, another thing that has happened, I want to give you a perspective on product evolution, right? So if you talk to your parents' generation and say, what was the greatest products of your time? They will get excited about fridge and TV and cars, right? And we don't get excited about fridge and TV, but they used to. Then something amazing happened. We started inventing a new kind of products, which is what I call, crowdsource intelligence or virtual products. And these products taught us how to take, the first generation products, which are what I call, instinctive intelligence products. That means the first generation products are products which are programmed with basic intelligence, right? If you walk into the sun, your iPhone becomes brighter, is a programmed intelligence, right? It doesn't learn this over a period of time, but it is programmed with certain level of intelligence. This is the level of intelligence at an animal's level, right? Dogs and cats have instincts. Then what we did in Product 2.0 in the last 20 years is we learned another breed of products, which is virtual in nature, which is not intelligent in the beginning, but we figured out how to make them intelligent over time. And Google was not intelligent on day one, or Amazon was not intelligent on day one, but because a lot of us are using them, they became intelligent over time. If people didn't use these products and give the feedback, the products will not become intelligent. So in the Product 2.0, we learned 2-3 things. One is how to take one good machine learning idea, like search or social networking or recommendation engine, and how to scale it at the planet level, and how to make it learn from feedback. That's what we have learned in the last 20 years, right? And now we are ready to do Product 3.0. What would that be is what we'll talk about. So I call this crowd intelligence. This is instinctive intelligence. And now we are starting to talk about Product 3.0, which is the next generation products, which are not just going to be better versions of Google and Facebook. Like Product 1.0 to 2.0, we made a huge leap. We are going to make another huge leap in our product thinking, and a smart city is going to be a new product. Not an Alexa alone, but a whole smart city. A whole connected car ecosystem, that's a product, right? A whole connected agriculture system of a country is a new product. And that is what I call an ecosystem product, which is going to take our AI capabilities to the next level and going to challenge us to think very differently about how to build such products. Now, one key difference is that Product 2.0 learned by interacting with people. So people are interacting with products, and that's how these products are becoming intelligent. Product 3.0, products are going to interact with other products as well as people. So your car is going to talk to another car as much as it will talk to you, right? And that's what the beauty about that next generation intelligence is going to be, and magical things are about to happen in that space. And we need to start imagining those kind of possibilities, right? So I'm going to now talk about what is ecosystem intelligence at its core, right? So that's, I think, the next evolution of AI. And if you think from a layers perspective, we have already built a certain layer in AI, right? We have all those core capabilities built. Now we are ready to go on to the next layer. So what is that layer is what I call an ecosystem intelligence. And I'm not going to do it from a jargon perspective. I'm going to talk it through a product perspective. I'm going to show you some glimpses of the future products just to kindle your imagination and to give you with each of these examples an insight of what is Product 3.0, 2.0 and 3.0, right? How are ecosystem products slightly different, very achievable in the next 5 years, yet we need certain different guiding principles to build them, right? So let me start with the first example. This was a live example. This happened with me. So somebody told me about this kid, Lydian. I don't know how many of you have heard of him. And he's a prodigy in piano. And what I did was I started watching his videos, and lots of videos of this guy. And then my daughter started watching and all of that. So YouTube now knows that Shailesh Kumar is now interested in piano, in this person, and in music, right? So that's what YouTube knows based on my behavior. Now what happened a few months later, somebody told me that this kid is coming to town and he's going to do a live concert. And I discovered that because somebody told me, right? Now imagine, and then I went to book my show and booked the show and went to the concert. Now think about what's going on here, right? Your phone has both the apps. YouTube app is there, Book My Show app is there, but these two apps are living in their own silos. What YouTube is learning about me is not being consumed by Book My Show, right? Otherwise, it would have said, look, YouTube is telling me you are interested in this person. Events is telling me this person is going to have an event in your city. Why don't I send you a notification and see if you're interested? So that's an example of an ecosystem product which is going to combine multiple apps into a single ecosystem. So we need to now start thinking, okay, all these apps are lower level APIs available to me. What can I do to build a meta app, if you will, right? Which is going to connect the dots and start imagining personal assistant is the new operating system. Not Android, not iPhone. Personal assistant is the new operating system. If you think like that, you can imagine what I'm talking about, right? Because that operating system knows my activities in YouTube and my activities in Book My Show, right? So if this is possible, it's very much possible if you think through that. So here's an example of ecosystem of applications, right? Today you have hundreds of applications on your phone, but they're not talking to each other. All right, so now let's talk about a world of personal assistant. So imagine, you're planning a movie with your friend, and now what happens? Imagine both of these phones have a personal assistant, right? Which you have activated there on your side. And what they do is they say, oh, you're talking about a movie. You want to go movie together. I understand the text and the speech. Now they all coordinate. They say, what are your preferences? What is the location of your office and work? What are your calendars like? This is the coordination activity between two people. What are your recommendations based on the past movies you have seen and liked across all apps, right? Netflix, Amazon, and all that. And what are your e-wallets and all that? Now imagine these two personal assistants are talking to each other while you're having a phone conversation, right? And now also imagine that there is a coordination agent that also knows about showtimes and movies in the world. And now that guy knows all of this and the showtimes, what is happening in the real world. And now by the time you finish your conversation, it has already figured out which is the movie both of you will like, which is the theater you should go to, what time you should be watching that movie. All the activities you would have done after the call is over is already taken care of because personal assistants are now taking care of the chore of coordination, right? So that's another example, and it'll also book a cab for you because it is now a universal system sitting on top of all the applications, yeah? So I'm just trying to rekindle your imagination into what these products can do going forward. All right, so another product that I'm very passionate about is what I call a teaching machine. So I gave a TEDx talk on teaching machines. It's on my LinkedIn. So the idea there is, if I look at education in India and many of the third world countries, only 5% of us get good education. Others don't, right? We are at the 5%. The others are out there, right? So what do? You cannot just keep solving the same problem with the same method of more teachers, more schools, and more training. How can technology help, given that we have connectivity, devices, content, AI? How can we build a new kind of an education system, right? So then I started working on my startup, and I said, look, we need to be able to do all these things. Imagine a tablet, which is your teacher now, or a school, or a classroom, and you should be able to write on it. It's like your new slate. And it should be able to understand the formulas of physics and chemistry. It should be able to understand your writing, your languages, what you're writing, and the images. It should also be able to understand you as a student, right? So as you are working on your education stuff, it should be able to say, look, what is your knowledge capability on these concepts? Can you apply these concepts? What kind of mistakes do you make? So now I'm trying to learn the student himself because I'm building a personalized education for him. Then I can use all that understanding to now start to decide what is the topic you are ready to learn next, and what is the best content for you because you are a kinetic learner or a visual learner or a theoretical learner, and what problems should I give you in the homework? Highly adaptive. Today what happens? Everybody goes through the same curriculum, same content, same problem, same solution, and we have a textbook written for 1 billion kids, and that's not going to work, right? And education is one of those areas that needs high degree of personalization at scale. And that's why teaching machines are going to, we've already started seeing MOOCs. Now we're going to see the evolution of MOOCs into this. And the fourth thing is we want to make these machines a lot more human by putting in things like speech capabilities in all languages, ability to have a conversation with the best teachers in the world, which are AI teachers, right? Imagine a Feynman persona or an Einstein persona and a kid is having a conversation with it. How can I recognize gestures and emotions, right? Now, the point I'm trying to make is, if I want to imagine such a product, are we ready to build it? And if I look at it, all these capabilities are there, but they're all staggered all over the place, right? There is one company who's good at this, one company who's good at that, few companies who are good at something, but we don't have an integrated way to put it all together, right? So if I want to build ecosystem products, we need to start thinking our own ecosystem of APIs we have created and how to integrate them into products. So what we are looking for is a platform where all APIs are together somewhere, and product thinkers are not worried about building these capabilities. They are building products on top of these APIs, right? And that's how the innovation on product side and on the API side will keep happening. So that's another ecosystem of AI APIs coming together to deliver a transformation in a certain area. Another thing, what was not there earlier is IoT, and I'll talk about how ecosystem of AI and IoT will work together, right? So imagine agriculture. We have farmers committing suicide all the time, and we react to all of that. But the main reason we found is that the farmers don't know what are the good government schemes, what are the practices of farming, what should I do today with my crop, I don't know what the weather is going to be tomorrow, and so on and so forth, right? And then imagine a system where he can talk in his own language. We have text to intent. We have an AI expert, not a farming expert, because we don't have enough of those. And then we have a farmer profile, right? We know what he's growing, when did he sow the crop, and all that. We have the knowledge graph of all agriculture in the world. And we also have all the sensor data. We know what the satellite is telling me about his farm. We know whether it's going to rain tomorrow in his farm. And we also have a soil IoT, right? How do I put all of this together to either tell him the answer, give him the answer, which is information, give him the content, maybe I have a content in his language which is precisely for him, relevant to him, or an action on the ground, maybe just deliver a pesticide to him through my ground channels, right? So we need a world of information, content, and action delivered to everybody in a very personalized manner by integrating all the capabilities we have together, right? And that's kind of an ecosystem thinking where we can transform all of this. So today I have startups in all these areas, but we need to put them together to solve these big problems. Yeah? Another one, Bangalore is very familiar with this, right? So today what we do is we optimize our own commutes, right? This is from my Ola experiences. So we optimize for our own commute, and therefore globally we have messed up the whole system. But what if all our cars are connected and they are telling and negotiating the routes, and we do a global optimization of everybody's commute instead of local optimization of each one's commute that we do, right? And then we can transform. This is another example of ecosystem thinking and not just this thing, right? All right, so now let me talk about the 6 big paradigm shifts that are happening which we need to think about so that we can imagine these kind of products, right? And you should have a sense of these paradigm shifts because the future is going to be very different than the past, and we need to understand these shifts. So one of the major shifts that has happened is, earlier we thought that the world is actually made up of documents and tweets and videos and blogs because we are all on the internet and there's Google search and all of that. But the reality is the world is not made up of documents and tweets. It's made up of people and events and movies and institutions and places and all of that. So now we are moving away from a search engine, document-centric thinking, where somebody has to read a document, find the answer, to knowledge-centric thinking and saying the world is not a collection of documents. The internet is actually a repository of human knowledge. And we need to extract that knowledge from videos and text and all of that and have a knowledge representation. And instead of people interacting with the text of the world, can they interact with the knowledge that is there, which is language agnostic, right? So how do we go from here to here is a mindset shift. We have been trained to think the world is made up of documents and I have to build a search engine, right? Second shift we talked about is, 20 years ago, search was a big deal, right? And Google started, many such companies started, and they thought organizing world's information was the right thing at that time. And we got a bunch of search engines and we are happy with that, right? But today, what we need is not a search engine, but an answer engine and an action engine. I'm not looking for 10 blue links so that I can click on one, read a particular line and get my answer. I would rather have the answer come to me, not a document, right? So we are shifting that paradigm. If a farmer wants to know, how to do this kind of a crop, he doesn't need 10 blue links to read, he just needs the answer, right? So how do we go from search thinking to answer and action thinking. Yeah? Another thing that is happening is if you look at your phones today, it's a collection of 200 apps, and as a backup, we have a search engine. If nothing works, we have Google all the time, right? So we live in that world. So now what is happening is we are living in what I call an app-centric or a provider-centric world. When I have to watch a movie, I don't think about the movie. I first think, is it available on Netflix or Hotstar or Amazon Prime? So I'm provider-centric. If I want to eat dosa, I don't think dosa. I think Swiggy or Zomato first. If I have to take a cab, I don't think cab. I think Ola and Uber first, right? So the idea is this layer between us and the services is now crowded with all the applications, right? So we need to now start thinking how to build something which is customer-centric and not provider-centric. So we live in a world of provider-centric apps, but there's no such thing as a customer-centric personal assistant. So I would rather have a personal assistant who is talking to all the apps, and I'm just talking to the personal assistant. And that is therefore going to be the new operating system, and everybody is working on that kind of thing. Another thing is menu-centric. So we have seen beautiful apps, right? If you look at all these Yatras and Olas and Oyos, beautiful apps, lots of UI, UX going on, and there's a learning curve and all of that. But that's not how humans talk to each other, right? That's not a natural human interface. That's a beautiful interface, but not a natural interface. And we are now moving towards conversational interfaces. If you look at Alexa, Siri, and Google Voice, the next idea of UI is not going to be a pretty UI and menus. It's going to be vision, speech, gestures, and all of that. So if you're a UX designer, start thinking about these skills as opposed to these skills, because all this is going to go away. And then let's talk about the use cases. See, a technology is only as good as the use cases, and we have solved convenience use cases so far. We have not solved real use cases with AI. We have solved search, which is a very important use case. We have solved e-commerce. We have solved advertising and marketing and media consumption and all of that, customer segmentation. But what we have not solved is the real issues, right? And my point is, if I look at technology like speech, for example, for certain countries and certain cultures, speech is just about a cooler interface to what we already have, right? I want to change my voice volume by voice is a cool thing to do, but for countries like India and other countries, voice has a very different purpose. It's not about cool, it's about inclusion, because all my 95% of the people don't know what is Google, YouTube, English, menus. The only way they can communicate with the digital life is through voice. So for me, voice is about inclusion, and unless I have it in all 20 languages, I will not be able to include them onto the bandwagon that we are on, right? So the purpose of speech is different in the Indian context, right? So how do we go from convenience to inclusion kind of mindsets is very important. So let me conclude. So any technology is only as good as the use cases, and like I said, we have solved consumerism use cases, mobility use cases. We have solved capitalistic use cases. Now it is time to start looking at the real use cases for technology. And you saw some examples. You're going to see many, and there are many use cases waiting to be solved. Right? We have education problems, healthcare problems, agriculture problems, safety problems, mobility problems, energy and environment problems. So the idea is, how do we use this new way of thinking, which is the ecosystem thinking, all the convergence of technologies and all the talent we have to solve these big issues, and not just go on solving the traditional issues, right? And people are waiting out there who are looking for what we can do for them. And we are all here to change the world, so hopefully we can change the world with the new perspective. Thank you so much.